I want to transition to why some people will actually listen to this episode, because they're probably going to look at the thumbnail, and I don't know what the thumbnail is going to say, but it's basically going to say this person did something amazing. So they want to know, what in the heck did she do to, lose over 120 pounds? It's an incredible feat. And I just want to just give some of your thoughts on what was the basic foundational elements of that success. What did you do to achieve that?
Yeah. So definitely, I want to tell you what I did to lose the weight, and then it's okay to tell you how I kept it off.
Amen.
Because
Let's do
that's
it.
a big piece.
That's huge.
And that's
Yeah.
something I
That's the
realized
hardest
along the
part.
way. Yes, that it was harder to keep it off than it was
Yes.
to lose it. Yep.
Yes.
So I had been on diet since I was 8 years old. I was literally put on my first diet at 8. So my entire life, I was always the overweight one, the big one, the fat one, whatever they wanted to call it, right? And I, each time I had a baby, I would, get on some sort of diet. I've tried, you name it, I've probably tried it, in terms of in terms of wanting to lose weight. But there were 3 things that happened, and it felt like right in a row that really said, you can't play games anymore. And the first one was we were at home playing or doing something, and I was probably on my phone or working, and my son said, "Hey, mommy, you want to come get on the floor and play with me?" And he was like, before I could even say anything, he said, "Well, I know, I want you to play on the floor with me, but you're just so fat, and you probably can't get up and get on the floor. So, never mind. I'll just ask Daddy." And he wasn't like trying to be mean. He was maybe 6, or maybe 7. I don't remember, but it was so matter of fact. Like, you're just so fat, so you can't get on the floor. Like, he was just rationalizing it in his head what the situation
But
was.
that's what the rest of the world may be saying too, right? You
Right.
kind of reference that. Maybe that's why you struggled to
Mhm.
make those moves, because even our big babies, our big kids are saying the same thing. But yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So
Okay.
that's what he said. And then so that hit me. Like, I pretended like, "Oh, that's okay, buddy." And my husband's like, "No, don't say that to mommy." And I was like, "No, no, no, I'm fine. Mommy's okay. I love you." And then I was like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And I went upstairs and cried. Somehow in that moment, I was able to run up the stairs and cry. And so it hit me so hard that he said that, because now I'm seeing that my kids are seeing it. And so maybe the next day or a few days later, it feels like all in one right now, but a few days later, we were at the doctor's office and number 2 happened. So we were at the doctor's office, taking all 4 kids to the doctor for their regular wellness visit. And the doctor says to me that my daughter, who was 1 at the time, she said that, she was ranging a little high on the weight, and basically, essentially, saying that I was needing to put my 1-year-old on a diet. And so I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, she doesn't look like a big kid. I don't understand. But they're trying to give me all these things that we should do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I literally had a flashback from when I was 8 years old to that moment that the doctor was telling my mom that I had to go on a diet. And I was like, I can't do this to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew, like, that was like, boom, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the way home from the doctor's office, we stopped by Target, because moms of 4 go to Target all the time. That's like our, hey, this is where we're going to go on our way from anywhere. So we just went to Target just to kind of walk around. And while we were there, my son, who was, I think he was like, because I have 4 kids. So I think it was the second son. He was like 4 or 5 at the time. I can't remember. And he ran off, and I was telling him to come here, but he wasn't coming. And so now I went to try and chase him, and I couldn't catch him. Some stranger from behind me had to ran past me and went and caught my son. So now 2 things struck me. One, my son could have ran out the door and, been hit by a car or something, because Target's exit is right next to the street.
That's right.
So that was number 1. Number 2, what if the stranger wasn't like a good Samaritan, was just like a crazy person, grabbed my son and kept going?
Mm-hmm.
If I couldn't catch my baby, I darn sure couldn't catch this person running past. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is it. I cannot play this game anymore. So I'd already been trying to get some exercise in, but I immediately changed my eating. This is when I said, I need to do something different. I actually started off with a little bit of like portion control. And then
Hmm.
a friend of mine told me about keto.
You just got lucky.
Hmm?
Your friend, you just got lucky, and
Yeah,
keto just came up.
right.
You
Yes.
didn't have to go through the whole vegan thing I went through for 8 years.
Oh no, the vegan thing happened, 4 years earlier. I was
Oh, okay.
the
So you did
50-pound
go through
vegan.
that. Okay.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
2 years.
got you. Okay.
Lost not 1 pound as a
Really?
vegan.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
She told me about it and she just said, yeah, there's this like way of eating where you don't eat any carbs. And I was like, well, I can't not eat carbs,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she's like, just try it. You might be able to
Mhm.
do it. And so I started like researching it. And I just started by just removing the carbs. So what I did was, and this is the way I always show people, I'm like, you can still do this even with a family. So every meal that I had, I would essentially make the same meal. So if
Mhm.
we're doing, rice, a vegetable, and a meat, right? So rice, broccoli, and chicken. I'm going to eat the rice and the broccoli. I mean, sorry, the chicken and the broccoli. They're going to eat the rice and the chicken and broccoli. And so I would still continue cooking the same meals. And I had at this point, with those major things that happened all in a row, I had the determination, dedication to do it.
Mm.
I had to be setting a good example for the kids. I had to be healthy and I had to change what I was doing. So I ate like that and I exercised. Every morning I got up at 6 a.m., sometimes 5:30, depending on what was happening. Meaning I had to be there at 5:30. I was doing a boot camp. I had to be there at 5:30. And then we'd do an hour of the boot camp. And then I'd come back and I would do like a beach body workout or something like
Mhm.
that. Like
Mhm.
that was like pretty common for me. 4 days a week. I was just so determined. So I lost the weight really quickly. I lost it in probably less than a year.
Wow, that
Yeah.
kinda weight in a year. So, and
Yeah.
I saw your videos, and you were definitely hitting the gym, pretty with the ropes or whatever you were doing. I was like, "Oh my god." So you
We
were
was doing
definitely
it all.
motivated.